Hello and welcome to Top of the Box, where I'm going to talk to you about some board games. My name is Luke Pickles. I'm Dungeon Master, Game Master, person of interest here. And today's a little different because normally we're doing like a challenge or a top 10 or something like that. This time I'm doing a little look back at some of the things that we've gone up to over the course of the year so far. This is being recorded mid-July, so this is a little retrospective, looking back. It's something actually that was started by Ron and Reggie. This was one of their videos over there, so go and check out Ron and Reggie's, the original video. I'll put a link to it in the description below. Giving some prompts for different things that you could go back and have a look at the different things that you're gaming about. Ron and Reggie did it, they tagged some other people into it, and Rodney Smith from Watch It Plays did his own video for these exact same prompts. So I wanted to give it a go for myself. There's been a lot of games I've played at this point so far. I've played 80 new different board games. I've played so many games I've played at this point. Thanks to UKGE, Aircon, Board Game Arena, all these different things have been available for me to play a whole bunch of games this year that I haven't necessarily had in the last few years when I've really sort of delved deep into the hobby. So let's go into some of my favourite games that have popped up over this year. So the first prompt is favourite game that we're playing at the moment, and I kind of split this out into the favourite light game and a heavier game as well, because I do go for a mix of things. I play heavier games, tend to play those with Ross, and the lighter games I tend to play with Laura and a few other people's. My favourite light game so far is Flamecraft, this incredibly adorable little dragon engine builder worker placement game. I think it's just absolutely charming. It's got some wonderful art. We've played it a few times on there as part of our 10x10 challenge, and we keep going with it because it is absolutely gorgeous. My favourite heavy game is, sticking with the crafting theme, is Woodcraft. This is another heavy game. Another heavy game. This is a heavy game where we're just making stuff and using our dice to do it. And I think Woodcraft it's fantastic. I think it's a really good game. It's made a really big push for my top 100 games so far. It's real fun. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with this game. I'm looking forward to seeing if there's more that will come eventually, because there's a lot of potential. There just might need to be some refreshing the cards that come out of Woodcraft. Basically, you're taking your dice and you're using the wood of the dice to make contract fulfillment, but you've got all sorts of different actions that you can play with to try and mitigate the dice in some way. You can cut them into pieces, glue scraps together, meld dice together. It's good. It's so good. It's crunchy. It's really tight turns. They could not be more different, these two craft games, but man, they're good. So the next one on this list is the most played game of the year so far. And I've split this into two different things. First one is the game I've played the most on Board Game Arena. Because Board Game Arena, it's incredibly easy just to set up a game, play it, carry on with your day. And if you want to, I'm going to put my username down in the description. It's Mr. Imp. Come and join me. Come play games with me. I'm more than happy to do that. The game I've played the most on BGA is Tapestry. I really like Tapestry. Ross loves Tapestry, as we will see in our top 10 video, which we're getting to. It's one of his favourite games. It's got a whole bunch of different expansions too. BGA only has the Plots and Ploys expansion civs on there at the moment, but I'm sure more will come along eventually. And it's just a fun game. We just really like Tapestry. The most played physically, on the other hand, though, is The Adventures of Robin Hood. This really interesting, story-driven, almost advent calendar-like game where you are going to be moving your pieces around to try and get to different tiles, flipping them over, reading from the book, doing the different things and playing through the story. I think it's great. Laura and I both picked this for our 10x10s. We've had to play it 15 times thus far. Tapestry, for comparison, we played about 62 times. Thereabouts so far this year. I'm really glad that the expansion, the Friar Tuck in Danger expansion, came out, because that adds a few more stories to the Adventure of Robin Hood, which stops it from getting stale and gives a whole new adventure. We binged this out really early in the year. We finished off the campaign. I'm looking forward to exploring it again later this year to finish it off for the 10x10. So the next prompt that Reggie has put out there was the biggest surprise in games, and this game was a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't think I was going to enjoy playing solo games. I've tried a few of them, I've tried solo modes of bigger games, but I wasn't sure that I'd like a solo-only game. I feel like it would take up a bit too much space in my collection that could be reserved for games that I could play with people. But Final Girl has changed my mind on that. So much so that this happened. This happened. Being set up right next to the Van Ryder stand at UKGE did not help. But yeah, there's just a lot. These I've not even explored these two yet. There is so many different variations in Final Girl. This game of taking on the role of that final girl who's still surviving against a horror trope. I'm not a horror guy. I don't like horror films. I don't watch them. They're kind of dull to me. But these are incredibly thematic, incredibly well thought out, and exciting solo games. I do want to try and see if I could play these co-op somehow. I'm sure it could be done. I've got a couple of different ways I want to try and do that, and that would be quite interesting to do at some point. But yeah, that's my biggest surprise, is I really like playing Final Girl. Who knew? So the next game that was part of this prompt is the biggest disappointment of the year so far. And I'm going to go with what is an easy target for me, quite frankly, because I wasn't expecting to like this game, and I didn't. So did I go into it with a bit of bias? Maybe. It's not like I went into the game with a lot of hope that I would enjoy it, because I'd kind of been turned off to it anyway, and that game is Ark Nova. Now, I've talked about this on a number of videos before, that although I wanted to play Ark Nova, I was looking forward to trying it because of all the hype that came around it. It was in my video earlier this year about games I wanted to try. It just didn't hit the sweet spot. I don't know what it is. I think hype certainly played a factor into it. I don't necessarily feel like the zoo theme plays through. That doesn't feel like that's what I'm doing. It feels like I'm just playing cards and putting tiles down. There's a bit of a disconnect there. So I haven't really bought into it that much. I've got friends who play it. I've played it a few times with them. I'll play it on Board Game Arena if someone sends me an invite for it and give it a go. But it's not ever going to be a game that I go, you know what, I need to play Ark Nova. I need to give it a go. I'd rather play Terraforming Mars, quite frankly. That's just me. I don't know. In terms of an actual disappointment, is it? No, not really, I guess. But it was a game that just didn't live up to the hype for me. So that's what I'm going with. I'm generally pretty positive about games. It's just Ark Nova I didn't really gel with. So this next one is games that we're most wanting to get off our shelf of shame or shelf of opportunity. Unplayed games you just want to get to the table. And I think for me, it's going to be King's Dilemma. As found with Adventures of Robin Hood, I like a good storytelling game. This one is still in shrink, as you can see, and you may not be able to see as well, but it's a little dusty. It's been on the shelf for a little while. But I've heard that it's got a lot of different options to it. You've got a bunch of branching storylines. You've got all sorts of different stuff that you can do within the game. I just really want to give it a go and see what happens. I really enjoyed Tales of the Arabian Nights, which is a fantastic little storytelling game that's getting a redo with the Tales of Arthurian Nights coming up soon. I really want to get into it and give it a go. I want to be able to play through a campaign of this and just find out what happens and see how my experience will vary with someone else's. And then potentially play another campaign, because I know my buddy Ross has got a copy of this. So we could play through his and then play through mine. Sounds like fun. All right, 3 more here. So the next one that Reggie looked at was older games that had been discovered, or I had discovered this year and had come across and really enjoyed. And the game that I think sits still in the middle of my mind is Rumble Nation. Now, Rumble Nation is like an area control game where you are trying to take control of different regions, but you have increasing numbers that you are trying to do it in. So there's a particular order you do, and if you win a region, you then sprawl a little bit, kind of like in Pandemic, where you move out there. Laura and I were introduced to this by Chaz Marler at Aircon, and put it out and played in front of us, and I was like, wow, this is actually really, really good fun. Really enjoyed the play of it. And it doesn't exist anywhere. frankly. It's really hard to get a hold of. However, there is a new edition coming out later this year, I think. So if that comes to a point, I'll be like, well, guess I'm buying Rumble Nation then, because I really enjoyed it. It looks like it's got a new art style and such. So really looking forward to that. So hopefully we'll get that back to the table again sometime soon. Okay, so the penultimate one here is anticipated release. So a game that is due to come out this year or next year, early next year, I guess. And for me, that is Scholars of the South Tigris. Now, I am a big fan of a lot of the Garfield games. I have most of them so far, at least the Cardinal Direction trilogies I do. I have all of the West Kingdom games, they're all in my top 50. Raiders of the North Sea, I think, is a fantastic game. Explorers of the North Sea is pretty good. I'm looking forward to the redux of Shipwrights, because the original, we all know Shipwrights was a little bit of a lame duck. And it didn't quite gel with Wayfarers of the South Tigris, but Scholars of the South Tigris, from what I've seen, has a really interesting mechanism with the dice placement and the way that you can manipulate your dice so that they can do what you need to do by combining colour. And it's got a really unique theme of translating scrolls and needing to get them from Persian to Hebrew to Arabic and having to get them all back to Arabic somehow, using different workers to translate that information. That theme is really appealing to me, and I really want to give that a go and see how that plays out. So I'm looking forward to giving that a go when it gets shipped out later this year. And Garfield games are usually pretty good, so I'll probably have it before Christmas. And the last one that Reggie wanted to ask out to content creators in particular is, what is your favourite video that you have posted? And it might be one that had the most engagement or one that has been the most interesting to do. For me, I think it's going to be the one that I did with Laura at the beginning of the year, and that is our 10 by 10 challenge. We just had fun doing that, just learning what games we were both excited to play for that whole year, getting that matchup on Robin Hood. So the realization of, oh great, we get to play this game. Oh boy, we have to play this game 20 times and it's a narrative game. that sank in a few days later, and there was, oh, the expansion's coming out. Great. So that, I really like that one. I think that's a good game. I'm quite happy with how that turned out, and it was one that really got me into doing the editing and doing more stuff into this channel, and realizing that actually I'm not as focused on, I prefer doing these videos when there's another person. Obviously this one I'm doing on my own, but that's okay because it's my reflective. So yeah, that kind of changed the way that I was viewing this aspect of the channel. I like doing these sorts of videos with someone else because it's just more interesting to me, quite frankly. And as we're in the middle of the year, it's probably a good opportunity to check in on how Laura and I are doing with our 10 by 10 challenge. I've talked about it a little bit already. As I said, it's my favourite video that we've done. This is how I'm doing. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. And this is how Laura's doing. Well, the good news is that between these two, we are actually pretty much halfway there through the year, which is great. We're just over 50% with our combined plays. So there's a little bit more we need to do on Laura's side, but hopefully we'll get a few of those games through towards the latter half of this year. A 10 by 10 has turned out to be a lot more challenging than I thought it would. So that's a lesson learned for next year's challenge, probably, is to maybe not 10 by 10, maybe a 20 by 5 or something like that. We'll see how it goes, but it's a good thing to do. So those are the prompts that Rolling Reggie set out. If you are a content creator, in fact anyone really, if you have any of these particular prompts that you have an answer to, let me know in the comments, or tag a content creator and say to them, hey, give this a go. Let us know what you think each of these games are going to be. And that's going to be it. It's a shorter video than usual. I'm not quite sure where I want to round this off. Check out some of our other stuff on the content. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like, notifications. Let us know if you like this sort of stuff, and let us know what your favourite games have been from the last year. What your gaming memories. That's the other thing, is what gaming is about the people. So what are the memories that you've had over it? I've had some pretty good ones. How about you? See you next time.